And you're back on the Boom Boom Room, 1240 WBBW, 96.7 WLLF throughout the country via your favorite listening app. It's an honor, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to the phone right now. His name is Shaun Cassidy, an American writer, producer, actor, singer, and one hell of a nice guy. We welcome you, Shaun Cassidy. How you doing?
Doing great, Cornel. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Shaun will be at Robbins Theater coming up on Friday, December 5th, the Road to Us tour. You can get your tickets right now at robbinstheater.com. You're pretty much a Renaissance guy, Shaun. You do it all, man. And people know you, of course, from your teen idol days, but you haven't stopped. You have been working this whole time.
Well, I have a weird resume, Cornel.
Yeah.
I started out as a young guy. I did a show called The Hardy Boys when I was 18, and that show was a big success, and I had already signed a record deal in high school, and my first album came out kind of concurrent with the show, and it blew up, and I had a #1 record with a song called To Do Run Run, and then a bunch of other hit records, and touring the country, and it was all really fast and furious, and my last concert back in the day was at the Houston Astrodome for 55,000 people, and I said goodnight, and I didn't know it would be my last concert for 40 years, but it was.
Damn.
I was able, fortunately, to transition to a career writing and producing television, which has been my main job and continues to be my main job. I'm writing a pilot right now for NBC. But a few years back, I decided I kind of missed the audience, and I had some stories to tell because that has been my main job, is storytelling. So I found a way to weave songs that a lot of people will know with stories that are kind of relevant and authentic to the job I have now, about my family and about my life and about their lives. It's called The Road to Us, not The Road to Me.
Yes.
And this is the biggest tour I've ever done, and it's been a great success. I'm really grateful.
You know, I'm not trying to blow smoke your way, but I've been reading some reviews, and my goodness, what you have been doing live and in concert over the last couple of years, just rave reviews. And I really recommend everybody coming out and seeing this one. It is a brand new project for you, the Road to Us tour.
I kind of workshopped a version of this show called Magic of the Midnight Sky over the last few years.
Yes.
Smaller, sometimes alone, just by myself, or with like a trio. This tour is bigger. I have a full band. As I said, I'm playing all the old hits, but I also wrote some new songs for the show, which are available on iTunes and
Nice.
Spotify and all this stuff. But what really made this possible for me anyway was the storytelling, because over the years, I've been asked to tour a lot, and fortunately, I had another job that I loved and still love, which is writing and producing. But the last show I was working on was a show called New Amsterdam, which I was on for 5 years, a medical drama. And while I was doing that show, an agent called and said, there's a lot of people who love for you to write a memoir. Why don't you think about doing that? So I did. I sat down and I started thinking about a memoir, and every time I started writing anything, I was like, man, I'm already writing all these scripts. I don't want to be in my room another few hours a day or night. So I wrote a one-man show. I kind of recited it into my iPhone, honestly. And I thought, well, I'll just go out and tell stories because that's my job now. And people said, no, dude, you got to sing the songs too, or they're going to throw furniture at you. So I found a way to weave these songs into a narrative that again felt authentic to me. So even though there's certainly nostalgia value in the show, and people love hearing the old songs, there's new songs and there's very new stories, and the stories tend to frame the songs in unexpected ways.
Yes.
So even though they might know To Do Run Run or Hey Deanie or That's Rock and Roll or whatever, there are stories related to these songs or behind these songs that illuminate them. And the show's funny. I mean, the show's actually quite funny, and people don't know or expect that from me. I don't even know what they expected from me. You take 40 years off, you don't know if anybody's going to show up, but they have. And, the response has been phenomenal. And I think the purpose-driven part of it for me is, I think if you are in the position to be a conduit for bringing people together in any situation. Bring them into a theater or a movie theater or a church or your kitchen table, whatever it is. Just getting people out from behind a computer or out of their houses post-pandemic. It's just like the healthiest thing in the world. And, yes, music is healing, but a shared experience is healing too. And that's what I think everybody's coming away with.
Yeah, you couldn't have said that any better, Shaun. It is so true. Live entertainment, live music it just makes people feel better. And it's good for your soul, man. I can't even tell you how many concerts and events I've been to in my life, but you just summed it up. It is a healing kind of thing. And guess who just walked into the room, Shaun Cassidy. I want to introduce you to Ray Boom Boom Mancini.
Hey, Shaun, how are you?
Hello, Ray.
I'm sorry, I'm running a little behind.
Well, I heard you need a little healing too, so
yes,
we're going to try and bring it to you.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Until Ray gets caught up here, Shaun, what do you like better? You've had such a great career and fame throughout, and to write is such a tough thing unless you're AI nowadays. But do you like performing or creating more?
Well, again, the storytelling is kind of the core of everything.
Gotcha.
I mean,
yeah.
And being able to find a story, a narrative that I thought would resonate with audiences now. I did write this show. I mean, the dialogue in the show is conversational. It's not like I'm reciting a script, and I certainly go off my script a lot, but there is a continuous narrative to the evening framed by these songs, and it is, it's not quite a Broadway musical, but it's almost like that.
Yes.
And in that sense, it's really not a lot different than, and I'm writing a pilot right now for NBC in my hotel room and in, the SUV from show to show. So I'm juggling both of these jobs, but the storytelling, go to my Facebook page. It says writer.
Okay.
That's my job.
Yes.
You grew up in California, and so did my kids. I was out there for a while, 30 years. I see you went to Beverly Hills High, great school. But here's what, being a protege of two parents, both in show business, I don't think people understand the difficulty it is for you. I mean, people could say, oh, you jump into show business like it's easy. No, because being a child of two stars, especially your mother and your father, TV stars, stage stars, and then and the film, of course. And then you go into trying to make your own bones. You try to make your own way in the entertainment business. People don't know how difficult that is. They think it's easy because of the pedigree you come from, but it's much more difficult because...
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure. I mean,
yes.
People talk about the Nepo baby thing all the time, and I think that's kind of ridiculous. I don't really even understand why it's specific to show business, because if your dad owns a hardware store... and you grow up at a hardware store and you end up inheriting the hardware store, in theory, you know more about the hardware business than anybody else is going to.
Right.
And why not?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be as good as your dad. And if you suck selling hardware, then maybe you don't belong in that business. And from my point of view, in my own experience, I had singers and actors as models, right? So my initial foray into show business was as a singer and as an actor. But I quickly found out that the thing I loved more than any of that was writing. And I discovered that in the writer's room on the Hardy Boys. When I was acting on that show, I would just spend more time in the writer's room than I would on the set, because I thought writers were like magicians. They made stuff out of the air. and they created it. As an actor or a singer, you're interpreting somebody else's work. I wanted to do that. I'd been a magician in high school. I mean, I literally did children's magic shows all over L.A. I played Jennifer Aniston's 4th birthday party. True story.
That's a good gig.
Yeah. And so the idea of being able, that was my performing roots, honestly, getting up in front of people and, pulling rabbits out of hats. So when I was able to write, I felt like, I'm sort of taking responsibility for my own course. I'm not waiting for a phone to ring to hire me. And not only that, to your earlier point, Ray, there was no precedent in my family for writers. This was my own thing. Me being well known didn't help me at all. The script had to have the goods,
So that was my point. And one thing I got to tell you, Cornel, I got to tell you, when I was looking over your bio and everything, the thing that impressed me most, and you got it, Shaun, early on, producer. Shaun became a producer early on, and people don't understand. People think you just be an actor, you want to be hired for the work. There's an old joke in Hollywood. Hey, who owns that mansion? What star owns that mansion? No. He's in the back house. The producer owns that mansion. Who owns that mansion? No. That's the producer. Where's the star? He's in the back house. People don't understand. The producer is where the money, producing is where the money is. You got to own the IP. You want to own the show. And Shaun, you learned that early on. And I was very impressed when I read about how much you produced.
Well, I've been really fortunate to produce and write a lot of television. But to your point, I had a model there because the producer of the Hardy Boys was a guy named Glenn Larson.
Yes.
And Glenn Larson had been in a singing group called the Four Preps when he was a kid. And if you go back and watch some old beach movies, he's in there singing with Ricky Nelson.
Wow.
And Glenn was like the king of Universal then. He had like 10 shows on the air, including the Hardy Boys. And when I would go to his office, there were a bunch of gold records on the wall. Mm-hmm. And all the executives were in there kissing his ring. And I thought, this guy has gold records. How did he make this transition from being a pop singer to the king of producing at Universal Studios? And I thought, I want his job. Yeah. He's got the job.
Yeah.
Producing is so imperative to like I said, Cornel, to own the IP, to control the narrative of the direction you want to go in the entertainment business. But more than anything, and Glenn Larson is a great example.
Yeah, that name is historic.
He was a great. It was like Shaun said, a lot of shows out there, tremendous amount of shows.
Oh, he was like Aaron Spelling. I mean, he had so many shows on.
Yes.
We're talking to Shaun Cassidy, the Road to Us tour, Friday, December 5th, the Robbins Theater. And once again, you can get your tickets right now at robbinstheater.com. You were a teen idol well before all of this social media stuff out there. How did you keep your craziness under control? And all of this craziness that was happening, screaming girls, all the rest. I'm sure you enjoyed yourself, but there was never a time where you heard, like Shaun Cassidy on TMZ, for the bad things. How did you keep that all under control throughout your life?
Well, I think if I'm grounded at all, first of all, honestly, the reason I'm still alive is because I was always in that, but not of it, if you know what I mean. I'm talking about Hollywood in general. Right. I love the work. I love the creative, but all the other stuff I thought was kind of ridiculous and ultimately dangerous.
Yeah.
And I'd had the modeling. I watched my father. I watched my mother. I watched David all make good and bad choices, and I learned from all of them. And that's the A side of it. And the B side is I got married crazy young. I was married at 21. My first wife already had a daughter, so I was a stepdad at 21. And then I quickly had 2 more kids with her. So by the time I'm 25, I've got 3 kids in my house. And the kids weren't much older or much younger than my audience.
Right.
So I suddenly was like thinking about my responsibility as a father, sort of falling into my responsibility. I don't want to say role model because I think that's sort of ridiculous, but I was aware that there were a lot of kids in the country who were looking to me or looking at me, invested in me, and I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to be a jerk. But when you're 18 or 19 or 20 or whatever, you're always going to do stupid stuff.
Right.
The difference now is everybody's got an iPhone recording it.
Yeah.
Everybody's a paparazzi.
So
I have a lot of empathy for any young person stepping into the public eye because you're going to be targeted.
Yeah.
And, clickbait, headlines, I see it myself now. Again, I haven't done interviews for a long time. And just in the recent wave of interviews I did to promote the tour, almost 99% of it has been positive. But even positive stories like People Magazine, I notice online, will take the most salacious thing you said in an hour-long interview and use it as the headline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because it's the lure, or they'll spin something. with a negative connotation. And then you read the story, and it's like, oh, no, there's nothing negative there. But it was to get the person in, get them in the door,
Yeah, that's right.
But to your point, there was no TMZ, but there was National Enquirer.
Right.
There were tabloids.
That's what I love about Ray, and I've known Ray for a long, long time. He is never going to have anybody on this show and go after, anything bad because he's been through it. He has been there, None of that goes on over here. And, you're just an impressive individual. Your mom is still doing well, but you are the caregiver.
Well, my brothers and I but she lives close to me. My mom's 91.
91.
God bless
Wow.
her.
Shirley Jones looks younger than all of us without anything done.
She looked great. She looked great back then, too.
Man.
Yeah, she's a beautiful woman inside and out, and she's her health is really good. And during the pandemic, she lived in L.A. We're in Santa Barbara, and like a lot of us who have older parents, I didn't get to see much of her then, and so as soon as the pandemic waned, I said, Mom, we're selling your house. You're moving up here. Be near us. Be near the grandkids. And she did. And it's great. I see her twice a week at least and talk to her all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've called her from the stage during the show that time. And in the sense, I'm not like her 24-hour caregiver because she doesn't need that. But
right.
I look after her as she looked after me.
That's impressive. Did she actually drive the bus?
She did.
I mean, she actually drove that thing down the road.
She sure did.
Hell
I remember her doing it.
Hell yeah.
Shaun, I'm looking at some of your writing credits, and I'm going to tell you what a very, very impressive. American Gothic, of course. Cold Case, The Agency, good show. Emerald City. I really enjoyed these shows. New Amsterdam. But how did you get into the writing aspect? A lot of people, people don't understand. Like people said, "Do you write?" I go, "I think I could write, but I don't want to." You got to take a lot of time to write. I'm more of the, I put the elements together. I'm more of the creative side. I have an idea. I hire a writer. But to sit down and write is very difficult and time consuming. So how did you get into that? Because that's impressive, some of the stuff you wrote.
Well, I wanted to do it. I didn't know if I could. I didn't know how in the early days. I learned a bit getting scripts as an actor because sometimes I'd even rewrite my own dialogue, which I started to do on the Hardy Boys because I had a sense of humor and I could sort of spin stuff to make it funnier. And initially the writers were like, why is this kid rewriting my dialogue? But when I hit some jokes, they went, oh, maybe he's funny. Maybe we should let him do it a little more. And they did. Mm-hmm. And they encouraged me. And then the first thing, to your point earlier, Ray, I started as a producer. So I'm out looking for writers now. I've got a magazine article I want to turn into a movie or a book or whatever, trying to find writers. And I couldn't find writers that I liked or who could deliver it the way I wanted it. So I started writing, and I found out I could do it. I had a musical ear, so I was good with dialogue. And once I learned the structure, and I watched a lot of movies, and I would take notes on the way things happened and when they happened and how the character would turn or the plot would turn. And most movies, good movies, follow kind of the same structure, and so do hour-long television shows. So once I learned that and was comfortable with the structure, then I could kind of play jazz on top of it with characters and dialogue. And my first pilot I sold was American Gothic, which was a big
incredible
deal.
Yes. What wasn't that on FX? Was that FX when it first
No,
came?
it should have been on FX.
It
was on CBS.
Oh,
and that's why it didn't last long because, we were competing with Touched by an Angel, and we were basically like Touched by Satan. It wasn't a good mix, but the show got rave reviews, and it put me on the map as a writer, and I don't think I'd be talking to you right now without that show.
Well, if you produced that with Sam Raimi, that had to be a television show. Sam Raimi's an interesting, director, producer, writer. Sam Raimi is one of the top. Cornel. Sam Raimi is terrific, So the fact that you produced that with him, that's impressive. It's very, very impressive.
Sam's great, and he'd done the Evil Dead movies.
Yes,
and
yes.
Then, of course, he did the first Spider-Man movie. He
yes,
became a very
that's
big
right.
movie.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Very good. Hey, Shaun, let's go a little bit more about this tour. I understand there's going to be storytelling. There's going to be your music, the ones that really brought you to fame and fortune, new songs. I love hearing that you're bringing to the audience. Somebody who knows nothing about you, nothing. Why should they come to your show?
I think it's the weave of the stories and the songs because, again, I think because I've been writing so long and because I have I think a fairly good sense of narrative arc and character arc, the show has that. It's not quite a Broadway show, but it kind of feels that way. There's a lot of setup and payoff. And it's not that the show is completely scripted. I go off all the time.
Yes.
But the songs are presented in a very specific way. They're framed in a very specific way. As I said, the show's very funny at places. It's also quite emotional at places. A lot of audience cry, but they leave laughing and dancing. So they've had a ride. And if you don't know me from Adam and you come in the door, and some people do, they're dragged along or whatever, they're my favorite audience.
Yeah.
Because I learned this a while ago, too. The more specific you are about your life, your family, your experiences, highs, lows, everything in between, the more it resonates with other people. If you speak generally, it doesn't land the same way. But specificity wins. And I'm very open and very honest about my life, good, bad, and everything in between. But again, it's framed with a lot of humor, and that lets you get away with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched an episode the other day, the 30th anniversary of Everybody Loves Raymond. Did you happen to see that?
Yeah, I know Phil Rosenthal quite well.
My God. And the writers on that show and the actors on that show, everything that happened on that show happened in their lives. A writer would have happened, they lost their wedding ring, or, this happened with a vacuum cleaner. They were actually encouraged. Anybody have a fight with your spouse today? What happened? And that's
and
what
what did you fight about?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so that's why people could relate so well to that show. We are looking forward to having you in town, Shaun, very much so. You've been excited about having this interview for quite a while, man. It's hard.
I was so excited that I was running behind, man. I said, "Oh my God, I got to get there."
I'm glad you made it, Ray.
Well, no, Shaun, because of course, growing up, you're part of my childhood, of course, and the mother's show, and then when I lived out there, I was out there for 30 years in California, and you see places where they say, oh, this is where the Brady Bunch, the Partridge family was made here, Partridge. Oh man, so it gives you a bit of that. Historical, you relive it when you say, "Oh man, that was one of my favorite shows growing up."
Yeah.
And then, of course, like I said, your mother, man, of course, she was a wonderful one, and then your father. But I remember your father. I used to love watching your father.
I'll tell you what, he was the greatest villain on Columbo.
Yes.
I mean, when your dad would show up on Columbo, oh my God, those are my favorite episodes of when he's a villain on there.
One of my favorite memories. All the Columbos were shot at Universal, where I've spent much of my career, and I was on the set of all three of the ones my dad did. But the first one was directed by this kid named Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
And Dad brought Spielberg home for dinner when Spielberg was like 24 years old, and I remember thinking, my dad's never brought a director home for dinner. What's up with this kid? He was right. He said, this kid's going places, and no kidding.
Can we have you back sometime?
I'd love it. Yeah, absolutely.
I look forward to that, man. That'd be wonderful.
And happy Thanksgiving to you, Shaun.
Yes.
You too, brothers. Have a great one.
Thank you,
and Ray, heal fast.
I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you so much.
Shaun Cassidy, the Road to Us tour, Friday night, December 5th at the Robbins Theater. Get your tickets right now at robbinstheater.com. You're on the Boom Boom Room with the champ, Ray Mancini.